friend said, "Is that Brian Sandberg?" And I was like, "No." And I looked over there and I was like, "It is."
They had what they call.
Oh, I
Okay.
forgot the handicap.
And I'm sure there'll be a couple more,
kind of a-
because I've already heard them say it. I haven't talked to them,
Like a
but
lottery kind of. Yeah.
I'm going to a ball game again tonight. Did you see where the Dans
Autograph.
had their 1,000th game win last night?
No.
Sherry, did you bring some stuff?
I would like to call to order the Tuesday, August 1st meeting of the Danville City Council. Madam Clerk, roll call to establish a quorum, please.
Mayor Ricky Williams,
Present?
Vice Mayor Tricia Teague,
Present.
Alderman Ed Butler, Heidi Wilson, Carolyn Wands,
Present.
James Pashard,
Present.
Mike O'Kane, Bob Iverson,
Present.
Mike Poor,
Present.
Rick Streebing,
Here.
Sherry Pickering,
Here.
Eve Ludwig,
Present.
Robert Williams,
Present.
Darren York,
Here.
John Cooper,
Here.
12 present, 11.
11 present. We do have a quorum this evening. At this time, we will have the invocation led by the Reverend Dr. C. Calvin Rice, the pastor at Allen Chapel AME Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderwoman Wands. Please rise.
Dear Lord, may we remember that we represent you and all that is done for this city, for the people. We ask you to bless them, give them an understanding, and grade them in your love and joy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Dr. Rice, if you would, we'd like to share with you, like you to share with us anything that you have had recently going on or coming up at the church that you'd like the folks to know about.
Yes, recently, of course, we've had great celebration and teaching and training and sharing with one another. We had Men and Women's Day. Of course, those that really spearheaded, Sister Sandra and Sister Alita Aranda, they shared and spearheaded that event. The next event that we have coming up is a lot of traveling. We had to travel out of town to our annual conference and ask for everybody prayers and blessings upon that.
Thank you. You all put on a mighty fine barbecue recently, too. Thank you for the good meal. We appreciated it.
Well, I didn't want you to think I just want to talk about food.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Rice. We appreciate y'all. At this time, you have before you the minutes of July 18, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We also have before you the agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We do have an agenda for this evening. I do not have any proclamations or board committee or personnel appointments. Are there any reports of boards, agencies, or commissions this evening? I see none. At this time, I have a few items of information for you. First of all, we want to congratulate our Danville Dans, who had their 1,000th victory last night, are in first place, and will be hosting the tournament opener this Sunday at 4:30 p.m. So make sure you go and cheer them on. You have an opportunity, if we're not long this evening, to see them yet tonight, and then again, is it Saturday?
Yes.
Saturday evening as well. So look forward to cheering on our Dans. Second, I want to just give a couple of shout outs of congratulations to Logan Cronk, our Community Relations Administrator. He just celebrated this past Saturday 4 years with us, and Lisa Monson, our City Clerk, who was on vacation this week, just celebrated 32 years with us. So I want to thank them for all the great work that they've done over the years and the good things that they've helped us accomplish the last few years. We really appreciate them. At this time, I would like to turn it over just briefly to our Community Relations Administrator, Ashton Greer, just to give a couple of updates on upcoming programming.
Hello, everybody. I just want to let you know that this Friday in downtown Danville is our back to school bash. We're super excited about it. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. Just head downtown. There's all sorts of activities for the whole community. And then the fall festival is quickly approaching. It's the third weekend in September. We are still accepting vendors, but only until Friday. So yeah, it's looking like a great event. It's growing, and this year we're bringing back live music, beer tent, some of the things that the community had been missing out on. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, also, I would like to acknowledge our treasurer, Chris Herron, for a brief update.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. I'm Chris Herron, City Treasurer, and have not been here 32 years, nor 4 years, but I did finish my, today marks the third, or the final day of my third month. So we've completed 3 months. So thank you. It's been a very productive 3 months, and the learning curve has been steep. My main focus in the office so far has been learning the systems of the office, the responsibilities of the office, the software, and being present in the office. Our number one priority in the office, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this before, is the bank reconciliation. The finance department graciously took this over months ago to try to get the bank reconciliation back on track, even though they had their duties that they had full-time anyway. But they've done a phenomenal job getting the bank reconciliation back on track. It's not 100% there. It's a very complex problem. But our team in the Treasurer's Office and Comptroller Massey's team are working together to get this done. And we look very forward to when that day comes and we can report legitimate numbers going forward every month. The pensions are a big part of the Treasurer's Office, and we've had some great relationships with the pension board. We had a special meeting in June and then our quarterly meeting in July with the pension boards. I'm proud to announce that both of those boards accepted and approved our financials, so that was a big win for us. There was a little bit of an issue with the payroll going in when that was a legacy problem that Kareth Kulwicki inherited, and she had cleaned up most of that. We were able to finish that process, and now the payroll is running very smoothly, and everything with the pensions are running extremely smoothly. So we're very happy about that. These people deserve to get their check every month on a timely manner, and they deserve a phone call, and that is what my intern and I aim to do on a daily basis, is to return all those calls and be there for those people. I'd also like to give like I said, it's been a learning curve, a steep learning curve through 3 months going into such an important office like this. And I'd like to give a special thanks to the mayor and to his team for all the patience, especially the finance team. We work very closely with the finance department and with Comptroller Ashlyn Massey. And our hands in the Treasurer's Office are in a lot of the pots of the finance. And so it has taken all of them to help me learn my responsibility of what they need from me. So I do appreciate that. And I'd like to also thank Lisa Monson and Rachel Hahn here with all their expertise and knowledge to answer those questions also. I'd like to also go on record of thanking Kareth Kulwicki, the former treasurer. She was very gracious in help training me over these past few months. Even after she's taken a new job, she's reached out to me and told me that anything that I need, that she is more than happy to answer those questions, and I just appreciate that so much. And we have a wonderful intern, Amy, in the Treasurer's Office that has been helping going forward with the systems that we have and getting ourselves, planted so that we can move forward, and especially working on this entire bank reconciliation deal. The bank reconciliation, we continue doing daily tasks that is keeping it up to date as much as possible, but again, until it is completely done, and we have a plan of how we're doing that. We've talked with the mayor and Comptroller Massey. We look very forward to having that reconciled from the past and then keeping it reconciled in the future. And that is all I have right now. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to ask or answer. Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Teague.
I have a few questions. So, based on what you were just saying, I'm inferring that you're doing bank reconciliations as you go, but you're trying to catch up on bank reconciliations that had not been completed. Is that correct?
Well, we're doing tasks, daily tasks that are components of bank reconciliation,
Okay.
but not actually reconciling the account.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I probably said that incorrectly.
No,
Incorrectly.
that was just my probable misunderstanding. So then my next question is there an ETA, and I know that might be asking a lot at this point, on when the reconciliation issues might be resolved?
An ETA, I wouldn't be able to answer that, but I would say that from what I understand, 95% of the reconciliation from October of 2021 through May of 2022 is complete, and June of 22 has been looked at. So you can, and I'm assuming most of you are aware of this already, or at least the ones that were on the council before. So that gives you some sort of an idea of where it's at and how long that might take going into the future.
But Treasurer, I can help out a little bit too. I've been conferring with firms, various accounting firms, on the possibility of coming in and get us caught up, and they think that if we're able to have an engagement with someone by the end of the month, that we should hopefully have everything caught up at least through April, by the end of this calendar year, so by the end of December. Vice Mayor, do you have any other questions?
Yes, but I was taking notes on what you just said. My last question is, how does this impact our ability to be prepared for an audit?
We cannot be fully prepared for our audit until the reconciliation is complete.
Okay, so we expect then that we won't be able to actually have an audit even started then until January 2024.
I can answer that, that's
Yes.
okay. So the fiscal year 22 audit, the last piece to be able to complete our fiscal year 22 audit and issue financial statements is the bank reconciliations and treasurer's reports. We cannot receive an engagement letter from our outside auditor until the previous year is completed. We're currently going to be using time from our fiscal year 23 audit for them to wrap up our fiscal year 22 audit. So that's where we stand on audits. Our audit and our financial statements are synonymous because our auditor does also prepare our financial statements.
Okay. And then how does this impact any grants that we are currently receiving?
On paper, we're out of compliance and we receive correspondence indicating as such. No action has been taken by the state. I will say that the state has extended their single audit requirements, which I think you mentioned last time. However, they can only extend state requirements. They can't extend federal requirements as the state. So while we have a little wiggle room on the state side, our single audit requirement is a federal requirement, but it would be up to the state to enforce that. The reason they did an extension is because the nation is also facing a shortage of accountants and accounting firms. So scenario.
Have we taken a proactive stance in contacting our program managers?
Yes.
Okay. Those are only questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, Mr. Herron, I want to thank you very much. We just needed something. We haven't heard anything for so long. So I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much.
No problem. I appreciate that. And thank you for your patience. And I would love to, I will give a report every month. If it's not financial, then, I can give you some sort of report of what's going on in the office. And I look very forward to, and I know Comptroller Massey does too, of giving that accurate financial report every month going in the future once it's available.
Well, what brought it all up is because I know before I was on Miss Wilson's case quite a bit, because she was always 2 or 3 or 4 months behind. And then when she come and tells us one time that she found a big mistake, and she let us know 4 months after the fact, that's not good business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Due to the fact that I knew that was there and some of the other problems we had in there, that's why I was just looking for something. I don't want to downplay it in any way, shape, or form, but I also want the public to know that we've got a problem.
Right.
And we need to fix it. So, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for everything.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Just for the public, the difficulty that we have is that the treasurer is an independently elected individual officer, just like each one of us. And so I have no authority over him or her, and neither does the city council. So unfortunately, when someone becomes derelict in their duties, there's not a recourse. Well, we weren't aware of a recourse. We do know now, moving forward. Our Corporation Council has done some research that if someone is severely derelict in their duties, that we do have the ability to bring them to you for a hearing, for consideration for removal from office. So my hope and prayer is that we get this straightened out from our former treasurer, Wilson's mess, and then are able to move forward accurately and expeditiously.
Well, like I said, a lot of my concern was all the grants and everything else we're intertwined in. That could get, we've been doing so well with everything else, and I just don't want this to come back and bite us for something that we really actually had nothing to do with.
Yep, and that's why Comptroller Massey intervened, and that's why I have intervened now as well in seeking outside help.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir. Chairman Poore.
And I just want to make, it wasn't Karis and it's not Chris that have caused the problem. This is a problem that's been ongoing for a couple of years prior to them even being in the role, I should say, because of dereliction. But I appreciate what you guys are doing too. National stepping in to help is a big help.
I actually have a question for the mayor, which is, what is the expense that we might potentially incur with bringing in outside assistance?
No idea. I have reached out to 5 different reputable firms that recommended us from a couple of sources, including the Illinois Municipal Treasurers Association, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. As soon as I know, I will do that. Yes.
I already know. I would like to echo Alderman Streaming's statement and say thank you for, at minimum, providing an update, because in my time here on the council, which has been short, heard very little. So just to be able to get a status update and for you to be able to say, well, this is where we are and this is what we're working on is an improvement. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Although I believe he may have filled out a comment card, at this time I would like to acknowledge our lead inspector, Mr. Rick Brown, for a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Rick Brown. I'm the lead inspector for the City of Danville Code Enforcement Division. My supervisor is Corporate Counsel James Simon. I report to James Simon and the mayor. And I just wanted to share with you tonight that we've got 2 new inspectors, and I wanted to put a face with a name. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Simon to introduce them.
Thank you, Rick. Sitting immediately to Rick's left or council member stayed right, standing up, is Dan Brown.
Okay.
He and his co-conspirator sitting next to him, Brandon Schweizer, hiding behind the column. Trust me, the two of them have been conspiring against Rick since they got here. But I will tell you, based on, and I've only been here 2.5 years, and I've already been through 2 inspectors. These two individuals, these 2 kids, as I would call them, are knocking it out of the park. They really are. I'm very proud of them, and we've even given them a pop quiz, because, you know, they have to be certified within 2 years. They've been here, what, 3 months? Is that about it? And Rick gave them a pop quiz, and they both passed with flying colors, and we're going to continue to do that. So I'm really proud of the team. I'm really proud of Rick, because he's been training these fellows, and he's been working through, I don't know, how many inspectors have you trained, Rick? 11. He tells me he's never, except for Kenny, he's never trained 2 inspectors that are catching on so quick. And Kenny, some of you know him. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. He's doing an outstanding job. So I'm very proud of all 4 of these guys. They are terrific.
Thank you, Corporation Counsel. Thank you, gentlemen.
Excuse me.
Yeah, yes, Alderman.
Yeah, what
Williams.
areas are they going to be covering?
Dan is in Area 2.
Sub-area 2.
And Brandon is in Area 4.
Speaking.
Everything east of Griffin, and a small portion of Bowman over to Griffin.
In terms of areas, a lot of credit is due to Ashton Greer for helping us put our property maintenance and code enforcement site together completely. And on that site is an area map, which not only includes each of these gentlemen's areas, but also the sectors within the areas. The city's divided into 4 areas, and each area is divided into 8 sectors. So they circulate. It still is 5 or 10 work days to circulate through all their areas, but they use Fridays in case they kind of get behind in an area. In fact, Rick just told, we had a meeting today, and Rick told me about a situation he had where he only got through 2 streets, and he had a 1.5 pages, problem violations. So on a Friday, I don't know if you've gotten back to that, or this Friday you'll get back to it, so we can kind of finish up that sector. That's how dedicated these people are. They really are. I know you all older persons get complaints from citizens, and thank you for funneling those complaints to us so we can get the work done. But it's a whole different ballgame. Be careful. Oh, by the way, don't forget to make sure you bring your toters back. They don't discriminate on who they give tickets to.
No, that's fine.
Thanks again, fellas. Yes, Alderman Butler. Fellas, you can have this seat.
Yes, I'd like to thank
Yes, ma'am.
each one, too. I know I lost Rick out of my ward, and I got the other Brown in my ward. And it's good that you know that the guys build a good relationship, with the people in their areas, and talk to them. And I know I got one guy in my ward, behind me, and sometimes he can get kind of hard to get along with, but but it just depends on the approach. How we approach people that, to build a relationship. Some folk get on new jobs and they try to make a name out of themselves. And I'm hoping that, that these guys doesn't try to do that and really work with the people in their areas. And, I kind of think so we get a lot done. And, I have something to bring up tonight, as well in an area.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Vice Chairman.
Yes, I'm thankful to put a face with the many conversations I've had with both of you, and I just want to thank you for what you've already done in my ward. Thank you.
Yes, Alderman
Yeah,
Williams.
I would like, the inspectors to kind of contact the aldermans in that area. They have the information. It'd be helpful to them to do their job. So we just need to know who they are and where they are, what's going on with it.
Thank you, Alderman. Vice Mayor.
I'd just like to say that they're doing their jobs well. I did receive a citation a couple weeks ago. So, and I knew that I might, and then I said, well, let me see if I do. And I did, which means that he was doing his job well. So thank you, Mr. Schweizer.
I told you.
Thank you. At this time, we will receive petitions, communications, and audience comments.
Has everyone had a chance to fill out a comment card that would like to speak? If so, when I call your name, please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. I have Hunter LaFave of Danville concerning city ordinances for health and safety and housing.
Hello, everybody. Mayor, City Council. My name is Hunter LaFave. My partner Hannah and I moved to Danville to provide mental health support in the aftermath of the pandemic. This June, we found a newly renovated rental in an ideal location to make our home base as we expand our services throughout the Danville community. On June 10th, our second day in the home, we became severely ill. Headache, nausea, dry heaving, dizziness, confusion, to the point of going to the emergency room. Sickness that I could only compare to chemotherapy. We informed our landlords, and they called for a gas and freon check and found nothing. Assuming the home needed more time for off-gassing fumes from new paint and laminate flooring, we stayed with family and gave it time to air out. We made a second attempt to stay in the home a few days later and left before midnight, suffering the same symptoms. Hardly able to function, we returned to the ER and were forced to cancel summer school programming and other work commitments. It was clear something in the home was extremely toxic and poisonous, but we were determined to make it work. We reached out to inform our landlords, this time suggesting mold testing, air duct cleaning, and air quality testing to get to the bottom of it and make the home habitable. The landlord told us there was nothing wrong with the house and refused to call for further testing. We purchased on our own a at-home testing kit, and the PM 2.5, the particulate matter, immediately registered double the hazardous threshold. The landlord suggested we called Newton's for an ozone treatment. Someone from Newton's came out and expressed the home was one of the worst cases he'd seen or smelled, that his eyes burned immediately after entering, and recommended we heat treat the house to burn off the chemicals. We made a final attempt to stay the home, and the home still made us sick. We tried to negotiate our rent, because the home was never safe and habitable. The landlord refused to compensate us for our damages and instead served us an eviction notice. We scoured town for comparable rentals and found nothing, ultimately forcing us out of Danville. We called the city to get help and report the unsafe property to ensure no one else suffers the same physical and financial stressors caused by this toxic residence, and heard nothing. We circled back and spoke to one of your inspectors, and despite the common claims listed on the city website that inspectors are said to handle, including anything that threatens residents' health and safety, the inspector refused to investigate or write a report saying there was no ordinance that covered the issue at hand. We're here today for a couple different reasons. One, to protect our community and ensure no one else gets treated like this, and if they do, help make sure there are proper channels in place to support them. And two, to inform the city that the ordinance need updated and recommend the training and education requirements of city inspectors be elevated to address the modern threats to health and safety. I got one more quickly. We know you're putting a lot of time and energy and resources into bringing people into our community, but you're missing an essential piece if you're not prioritizing the health and the safety of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaFave. Mr. Simon.
The environmental code inspectors that operate out of the legal department do not inspect for mold, and they do not inspect interiors of houses. Our building inspector may, but again, I don't believe, and I think Carl could answer this more clearly, or Sam, he does not inspect for mold. The city does not get involved in mold remediation, and I believe that is provided on the city's website. There's information about mold, but I believe that it's not provided. And I think Rick Brown, if he wishes, he could speak to that. You happen to have 3 inspectors here.
Yeah, it was not a mold issue, though.
What was it?
What they said from Newton's, he said he thought it was a paint issue. There was use of an indoor-outdoor bonding primer throughout the inside of the house. Recently, before we moved in, there was not enough time for that to off-gas as the weather was cooler then, and it was pretty immediate before we got into the home that happened.
We don't inspect paint and outgassing either, whether it's from paint or even from furniture, with plasticizers in it. Therefore, there could even be formaldehyde outgassing going on. We don't inspect for that. We don't have the equipment to inspect, and we certainly don't remediate that either.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah. I am Hunter's partner, and my first job after college, after graduating from DePaul, I actually worked professionally as an environmental scientist doing hazardous waste remediation for major oil and gas companies, as well as building sustainability programs for major manufacturing companies, working from California to New York down to Texas, and then I arrived back in Indy. So I do have a lot of knowledge of hazardous waste remediation, testing, reading reports for toxicity and dealing with that on a kind of an industrial level. I don't clearly on the residential level. This is all new, but for us, I guess, what we're here to try to figure out is, as residents, as people that came home to really, really try to make a difference in this community, we moved into an unsafe house that made us severely ill to where we couldn't even think straight or make good decisions, and we came to this city and we didn't, what do we do? What do you do? We don't know, we don't have the solution. We're really looking at the inspectors to help us find a solution because we are sick and we were out and we were lost financial money, we lost business. So what do citizens do that don't have the resources or the wherewithal that we have if something happens? Maybe if we didn't give you those details, are you able to help give us an answer? Because I just don't know what else you do if a landlord refuses to help you.
We've called and talked to the state of Illinois. We've talked to anyone you could possibly think of. They said that they don't even have jurisdiction in Vermilion County, that no one could even represent this.
Unfortunately, the answer that I have is you file a tenant complaint.
We did.
And we can only go to certain capabilities that the city has.
There was absolutely nothing done, even after following up multiple times.
I'm not sure there, based on my knowledge, there's anything the city can do with that level.
We're here to change that.
Administrator Finch.
Basically, just like our corporation Simon mentioned, is that I talked to the inspector about it, Kenny Harden, and he explained to me that because we are not able to address the issue because it's not in the ordinance, we could not enforce the issue. I did talk to Mr. LaFave several times, and unfortunately, I couldn't help him because we don't have an ordinance to support their claims. So we did talk several times.
So at the end of the day, what it sounds like to me then is that it's up to us as a council to address this in ordinances.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are just really concerned that if nothing's done to mitigate this household, we know how hard it was for us. And if it's a young family that goes in there and their kids get sick and they do not know what to do, it could severely threaten their lives. So we just want to know that you guys are aware this is happening and figure out what we can do together to find a solution and just protect our people.
There's nothing at the hospitals, there's nothing with the city, there's nothing with the landlord, there's nothing with the state of Illinois. There's absolutely nothing that could be, I promise we have put hours every single day into this for weeks.
Well, if we proceed with drafting some kind of an ordinance, your help will probably be requesed, especially.
We'd be happy to. That's why we're here.
Okay,
we're here to help.
Because I know I am not sophisticated in this area of environmental law, and I don't believe my assistant corporation counsel is either. So Obviously, I take my directions from the mayor and the council, and if they want to task us with something like that, hopefully you've left your contact information, probably with Administrator Finch, and at least we now know where we can contact you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
But I was just wondering, is there something that our lead inspector, Rick Brown, can say about this issue?
Yeah, I can comment as to.
Mr. Brown, could you please come to the microphone?
I'm sorry. I can comment as to, with regard to the mold. I know this is not necessarily all about mold, but, you know, this, the local level of the county nor the state level has an ordinance on mold. And therefore, we don't go into a property without an ordinance in our back pocket to back it up. With regard to the primer paint, I would have to see basically the paint can to see what chemicals are in it, determine if there's anything that we could go forward with. So I know that sounds like a vague answer, but it's an honest answer. So.
Also, Mr. Brown, is there any way that you could contact or they can contact the health department? I mean, have they been contacted?
Well,
they deals with us stuff like this as well.
Yeah, they don't. Well, yes and no. It depends on what their level of expertise is. You know, I mean, this has got me interested because if it doesn't sound to me like it's a mold issue at all. It's something emitting from the primer that was used, possibly. But there again, I'd have to see the paint can product to read the chemical compound listed on the can. So,
Corporation Counsel.
There is another approach to this problem, because if we, as I think about it, and I'm being hit with this for the first time, there are all kinds of environmental hazards that can be introduced to a residence. Mm-hmm. It could be the furniture, as I mentioned, with certain materials and protective coatings, you know, like varnish. They can, for the sensitive system, can cause similar problems with formaldehyde outgassing, correct? And there are other. But there is something that we could do that, and it could even be more far-reaching than what, you know, your situation, and that is to, again, with council direction and mayor direction, is to amend our rental registration program to at least allow you to break your lease, or your people in your situation, to break your lease, recover a security deposit, and recover rent. Obviously, it would have to be something that has occurred fairly quickly in the occupancy. Otherwise, it becomes a problem of enforcement. And cooperating with Administrator Finch, we can bring them in and we'll try to work out a settlement if they refuse to abide by our ordinance. Mm-hmm. And if they fail to abide by the ordinance, they can be fined. And assuming it is the council and the mayor's desire, the fines can be well above what we normally fine people for their exterior environmental problems. Could be hundreds, thousands of dollars, or not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars to make the tenant whole who's experienced this in, let's say, their first week or first month. I'm just tossing out timeframes. I'm not wedded to them.
Chairman Streaming.
I think somewhere you might look at this. It's been a while since I had anything to do with this, as well as Mike, but the 1 and 5 year plan with the Housing Authority that you guys, or we approve on a yearly basis for the 1 year and the 5 year plan, for years, they had paint remediation and all other kinds of things. And I think we tried to mirror at one time some of our rental agreements through the city through that. So you might look there because that might give you part of your answer.
Well, we have done a tenant mediation, I mean, in terms of trying to get the tenant and the landlord to come to some kind of agreement, but we don't have a law to enforce that. So we do mediation.
Well, that's why I'm saying if you look at the 1 and 5 year plan that the Federal Housing Authority puts out, it's been a while since I've looked at it. There might be something in there. And if not, it's been a few years since I had anything to do with it. They may have made some changes. And it may be sitting there and we just don't know about it.
Thank you, Chairman. Vice Mayor.
I think, first of all, I love what you just proposed.
Yeah.
This is not the first time that someone has come before the council and talked about the issues that they've had with a home that they're renting being uninhabitable. And based on the things that I know of as it relates to housing in general, whether it's this type of issue between a landlord and a tenant, or just the number of viable rental properties in our community, we have a major housing problem. I had business colleagues who were actually planning to move to Danville and couldn't find something and decided to stay where they were. And these are professionals. Both of them are lawyers. We're losing population quickly, and I imagine that the people who are here, who some of them, not all, I don't want to make a broad generality, can't leave, and the ones who can leave do or are forced to leave. As it relates to this particular issue, with this couple here, the resolution has already been done because they've already moved. So it can't necessarily be resolved for them, but we can resolve it for future people, which is, I believe, the reason why they came here in the first place. Because we've seen this, we keep seeing this over and over again. It's just a different face of the exact same issue, which is we have a housing problem. And we have some landlords, not all, because I'm a landlord, so we have some landlords who don't care and don't care to resolve issues, and we need to be able to, as a city, advocate for all of our citizens. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I would just add that we do advocate for all of our citizens, and
Yes,
they are.
I would like to add that too. We do advocate for our citizens, and we do have code enforcement laws, and those laws are enforced. We don't have a law that enforces mode, so we can't do anything about that. And this issue that they just mentioned, we don't have a law to enforce that. We can't go after a landlord when we don't have anything to back it up with.
Right, that's my point. And what I'm saying is us as the council needs to do something to change the ordinances, because we can't empower you to do something that we didn't give you power to do.
Right. But I know with some of the other issues that have been mentioned at the council meeting, we have enforced those laws.
But we don't enforce mold, which is, I know, one of the big ones that came previously. I remember the pictures from the lady that came, and we couldn't do anything about that. We couldn't do anything about this, and those are still major issues.
Yeah, but again, we do enforce the ones we can. We can't enforce mold, but I understand exactly what you're saying. Until you come up with a law to enforce it,
right,
then
there's
we
nothing
can't do
you can
anything
do
about it.
Right.
But we do enforce the ones that we do have.
And I think we should get on it quick.
Absolutely.
Agree.
So,
John Cooper probably remembers this, and Rick maybe. We severed, with the rental registration program, when it first started, was interior inspections as well as exterior inspections.
yes, it was.
That was back in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we had a lot of feedback or criticism from the landlords. But yeah, the first people to register rental property, and I was one of them, we had interior inspection on every piece of every unit we had. And especially if there was any kind of violation that triggered an automatic internal inspection.
So did we get away from that?
Yes.
We don't do interior at all.
We haven't done that since my time on the city council, which is 15 years. So
If we get a complaint, I'm sure this is not an isolated complaint.
No.
So we get an interior complaint, there's really nothing we can do about it? Is it?
No,
Can't go in and inspect, or?
that's not true. If we get an interior complaint, then it has to be a tenant complaint. If we get an interior complaint, then they do go and inspect. For example, last week they went into a situation, and I have pictures from it, that wild animals shouldn't have been living in that house, let alone people with a newborn child, and we enforced that right away. And because there were laws that we could use, that we had on the books to enforce, and so we were able to enforce that right away, and got those people out of that house immediately. So it just, again, as Vice Mayor and Administrator said, if we don't have a law, then we can't there's nothing for us to enforce.
Then I think we need to make those laws. Yeah.
And if we want interior inspections, which I have lobbied for and others have in the past, you're going to have to hire twice as many inspectors because we have thousands of rental properties.
And it might be worth it. I mean, it's something we might have to look at, but I think rental housing in this town is becoming an issue. It has been an issue for quite a while. If we need to put something on the books on it, I'd like to see it. That idea you just shot was great, but
well, we can even go further with that idea, because separate from dealing with an individual landlord that refuses to deal with their tenant, these people were, in the law, constructively evicted from their house, and they have all kinds of legal rights, but that requires hiring counsel and costs. But we can get involved with that. Another thing we can do, assuming we can have the staff, is do the inspections interior, and we could even provide in our rental registration that if you register a rental property and a tenant complains, we have the right to go in. But by the way, if a tenant complains, we have the right to come in because the tenant has the right to occupy the premises, and he or she or they can consent to the inspection, and the landlord can't do anything about it. But the other problem is the problem is these individuals who would do this kind of inspection have to be trained in what they're seeing and possible causation. That's why I suggested the rental registration, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of potential causes. It could be plumbing problems where you're getting sewer gas up through lines. It could be damage that was done to a fire and somebody just painted over it, so there's a lingering smell. There can be pet odors or vermin odors in the house if it has been unoccupied. By leaning on the landlords and at least getting our residents hold. There's another thing that we can do that I was involved with over when I was in Urbana, is they do it in Urbana, their rental registration also grades housings 1 through F. And if you have an F, you are not allowed to have tenants until the problems are fixed. Again, we need inspectors to do that and help grade and set up the system. That was set up because obviously Urbana is a university town, and parents go online when their kids are talking about, off-campus housing. We don't have that circumstance, but if council and the mayor are interested in that, we can develop that too. But again, somebody's going to have to go in, some bodies, plural, are going to have to go in and grade these rental units. But anytime a tenant complains, somebody has the legal right to go in. They may not have the expertise in terms of, figuring out what's going on, but at least the legal right. Otherwise, there's no, if it's owner occupied having a problem, we wouldn't go in because it's an owner's private situation. But we can't even set foot on a property, the owner's property, without the consent. And if it's a tenant, they can give us consent.
And that tenant reports this to who, Sandy?
To our inspectors. They fill out a rental complaint form, and then they direct it in the best way they can. It may be out to Public Works, maybe, if it's a structural issue, because our building inspectors trained in those areas. Our people are too, but not to the, they don't issue building permits and review building plans, so they don't have that type of expertise. Fortunately, I'd say Mr. Brown, but you'd have to choose. Rick Brown used to be an electrical inspector here in the city, so he has strong familiarity with electrical problems. So there are things, but there's so many things. I think the better approach is to provide a way for our tenants, if they have to evacuate, basically say, landlord, you've created a condition. They have to document it and keep records. The tenants do, so we have some evidence and all, in which, through Administrator Finch or through city court, compel these landlords to, at the very least, refund the rent refund the security deposit, provide money if they're renting elsewhere for utility and rent security deposit elsewhere, and if they have to pay for moving, pay for the moving.
But see, I guess one of the issues, and I've heard it from tenants, and I've seen it down at the courthouse every week almost, but these people report these people, the tenants report the landowner. What's stopping the landowner from kicking them out? And there's not a lot.
That happens. I mean,
That
you know,
happens
it's
more,
called,
and I think that's,
yeah, it's retaliatory eviction
and
for
I think that
complaining.
scares these tenants.
But we, you know, if, you know, I believe we have some things in place for that. Rick Brown's raising his hand, but in our rental registration, we can include, you know, these kinds of issues, how to address them and all. But again, you all have to be willing to also deal with the landlord side of it as well. Because when we draft this and present it, first in committee, Public Services Committee, and then council, my guess is landlords will be here like they were that one issue we dealt with landlords and all, and that's up to you all.
Well, so what? So what? I mean,
as I say, it's up to you all.
I'll deal with.
Yeah, I can say that we have gained much greater compliance with our landlords than we've had in the past because of our inspectors bust and hump. I mean, we've got much greater compliance, but we still have issues. In fact, recently we requested that they come up with a list of those entities that are repeated problems, and we are in the process inviting those folks to City Hall for a meeting.
Good.
So, and Alderwoman Pickering can tell you, we have a problem properties meeting that meets regularly for people that are properties that are especially egregious, and we have been able to make a lot of progress on that list. The problem is we have thousands of problem properties. Chairman.
Yeah, I can say this happened about 16 years ago. I had a friend living next door to a place down in the East End off of Buchanan Street. The dog got out. They had the door open, the dog ran inside, so we had to go in and get it. And when the vice mayor talks about people not willing to say anything or do anything because they got 2 or 3 kids and they got a roof over their head, they're going to be on the streets. So a lot of people don't say anything because they don't think anybody's going to be there to help them. When I walked into the kitchen, the whole kitchen floor was completely gone except about a foot and a half around where they actually went to use the kitchen and the cupboards and everything else. And these people live like that. When I found out they lived there for almost 1.5 years, 2 years. I can tell you that after that, things were taken care of, and I was also on the Housing Authority at that time. That gentleman no longer takes care or has any other business in this town because of it. So, like the Vice Mayor said, people that can leave can leave. There's other people that we're not seeing and we're not hearing from because they have nothing better or they can't go anywhere else. So,
as I've told you, the biggest game is this. My lease has expired. So I go to a month-to-month lease, and this is what happens. I complain, so they give me my 30 days notice. Technically, they haven't legally retaliated against the people. They haven't done a local, state, or federal. They haven't committed a violation. So then folks are just evicted, you know. And that's one of the reasons why we strongly encourage people, make sure you have a current and active lease, because that's one of the only ways that we can help protect you.
Yep, and I see that every week. I mean, that's every week I see it.
Well, Mr. Simon, I'm going to tell you, let's get started on it.
We will.
We're coming up on budget time, so that's something that we can discuss in there is the addition of rental inspectors. Yep. Again, it's something that I have mentioned a number of times, but I think I'm glad to see that we have the appetite to address it. Any other comments, audience comments, Madam Clerk?
No, we have no other comments.
All right, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Barry Johnson. Before I came back to Danville, my job was a professional Health and Safety Manager for General Motors Corporation. And I'm just listening to what's going on here, and I'm listening to the issues that are concerned here, and we are being, with the people here, Hunter and Hannah, I know them both. Well, that's beside the fact. The mode that we're in is reactive. Very reactive, and there should be a proactive mode for this. There should never be a reason why anybody should be exposed to what we call IAQ, or indoor air quality, poor indoor air quality, to be inhabiting a place like that. That should have been a place that they were able to go into with a certification that the air quality for that place was habitable. So it sounds like you're on top of it and going to do something about it, but I think that issue is horrid. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 8 is zoning petitions, for which we have none. You do have before you the payrolls of July 21st and 28th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Pashard,
Yes.
O'Kane, Iverson,
Yes.
Poor,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. We also have before you this evening the vouchers payable for July 25th and August 1st, as well as a special run of August 1st. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Alderwoman Pickering.
I have a question. On August the 1st, in Department 119, the TIF, just refresh my memory on that. It was for 1 North Logan for $21,000. Does anybody can tell me more about that?
Yeah, so that was part of a redevelopment agreement for the OSF Ergo facility that took place. There was a agreement with the developer of that property where we basically reimbursed some of the costs up front. The TIF district didn't have enough funds to make all of the reimbursement, so they get an annual payment until that reimbursement arrangement is paid off.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Wands,
Yes.
Pashard,
Yes.
O'Kane, Iverson,
Yes.
Poor,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. At this time, we will receive our Public Services Committee report. Chairman Streaming.
Puts us to item number 11A. We have a resolution approving the submission of a grant application for the 2023 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG. I will make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 11A's resolution? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Pashard,
Yes.
O'Kane, Iverson,
Yes.
Poor,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. Thank you. Puts us 11B. We have a resolution transferring additional funds to police-secured funds expenditure line items. I will make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 11B's resolution? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman O'Kane, Iverson,
Yes.
Poor,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Pashard,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
12 yes.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you. Puts us 11C. We have a resolution authorizing a 2-year contract, LexisNexis Desk Officer System doors. I will make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 11C's resolution? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Iverson?
Yes.
Poor?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Pashard?
Yes.
O'Kane? Streebing?
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. Puts us 11D. We have a resolution authorizing the trade or sale slash disposal of unused police vehicles. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 11D? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Poor?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Pashard?
Yes.
O'Kane? Iverson?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. Puts us to 11E. We have a resolution amending the FY 2023-2024 Fund 605 Opioid Settlement Fund budget and approving the Vermilion County Mental Health 708 Board's request for funding. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 11E, it's a resolution? If
Glad
not,
to see
roll call.
Chairman Wendy Lambert and with Step Recovery here in
okay.
support of that as well.
Okay. If no questions, roll call, please.
Alderman Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Pashard?
Yes.
O'Kane? Iverson?
Yes.
Poor?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Puts us to item 11F. Anybody have any items of information? I don't have any, so there you go, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. At this time, we will receive our Public Works Committee report. Chairman Poor.
Thank you, Mayor. 12A is a resolution approving a sewer asset transfer agreement with Bungie Milling Incorporated. Move dispense to read and ask for your approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Pickering?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Wilson? Wands?
Yes.
Pashard?
Yes.
O'Kane? Iverson?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
Poor?
Yes.
That's 12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries.
Okay, 12B is items of information. We will meet here in these chambers next week, 6 p.m. Carl or Sam, anybody?
I don't have anything tonight, no.
Okay. That concludes our report, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Are there any items of information for the good of the cause? Yes, Alderman Butler.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but it would be good if it would take place. I was given a call about on Hazel Street, the Dick Van Dyke house, to the fact that on the north side, said they began to put garbage. And I don't know if our inspectors has been there to check it out. The house needs something done to it. It was boarded up there, but the boards were taken down. And so they begin to kind of start trashing it. I love Dick Van Dyke. I watched him all week there with my great-granddaughter. And What the Woman That Flies.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah, Mary Poppins. Yeah, I watched that all week there with my great-granddaughter. And he was on there tap dancing. So I'd like to see something done to the house or get in contact with the foundation so that we could do something with the house. I mean, it's terrible. And then the neighbors are really complaining about it. They keep their end of the street looking good, and the neighborhood. I go down the street and the kids there that dance in the street won't move. I don't know what we can do about that, but it's getting pretty bad in that area.
Unfortunately, the Dick Van Dyke house is one that has not, that's a question that I'm commonly asked. For the record, money was raised. It was raised by the foundation. We do not have that money. It was not received by the city of Danville. It was allegedly raised to give a scholarship every year. I know that, I'm not sure this year, but last year they did actually finally give a scholarship out, so I was glad to see that. We have been in touch with the manager, Mr. Van Dyke's manager, and unfortunately, they have been unwilling to do much to the home. Sadly, it's in terrible shape. I took pictures of it myself. I have been forbidden to go inside by our city inspectors because it's so bad, and quite sadly, it will likely have to be torn down. I mean, unless someone is willing to spend $500,000 on a frame house, it would honestly be better at this point to be torn down and reconstructed than to try to salvage it. It's just, it's horrible.
Right, or else they can just tear it down and just put a monument up on there, some pretty grass and some flowers or something, and with Dick Van Dyke Foundation on the lot.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Mayor.
She had her hand up first. Go ahead.
Vice Chairman.
Yes, I just want, this Saturday, August the 5th, is the annual American Legion Golf Tournament, and the program starts at 8 a.m. The first tee time is 9, and I would love to see some of the aldermen out there to help support our veterans. So the program starts at 8 a.m. at Harrison Park Golf Course. Hope to see you guys there.
Thank you. I'm there every year, and I'll see y'all there if you come.
Yeah.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Do we get notifications from the railroads anytime they close tracks?
Sometimes.
Did we get notification about the tracks on Voorhees?
No, the only notification we actually received is when they stopped our Vector truck while it was passing over the tracks yesterday. And as soon as I found that out, I did email police and fire and DMT to let them know. And there's no actual anticipated finish to that right now.
Yeah, I will say they did contact me several weeks ago and said, do you have a problem if we have to close down this road to do maintenance on the road? And I said, well, we will work with you. We know that we need to. Just give us any heads up. And I think the heads up that we got was what Carl just described there. So
you just said we don't know when they're going to be complete, correct?
No, they didn't have any clue. They've actually started working on the crossing yesterday. And we're starting to repair they've got the demolition part of it done and appeared to be starting the repair after lunchtime today.
So when we find out, and I realize that we don't really get advance warning, but when we can find out, can we at least notify citizens? Because I think one of the things that happens is people anticipate going to work or different things that they normally do, and then they find they can't. And that's what I read on Facebook yesterday. And then I saw it this morning because I happened to go north. So, and I was like, oh, we haven't gotten any notification. Now, obviously, it's because you all didn't get any notification. But once we find out, it would be great if we just let citizens know. Even though they didn't do what they should do, we should at least do what we should.
And I would agree with you. It's just something that, the timing of the day and what we're doing, and we just don't always have, personally, I don't always think about letting everybody know, because I let the people know that needed to know. But yeah, it affects everybody tremendously.
Yeah, and I guess to add to that, normally, so we can let people know that it's closed, but we have the next question that comes is when will it be back open? And we have no idea. And yeah, so
we can say that tomorrow. We can send out a text alert. And
I mean, I know about it, and I went the wrong way and got stuck by it 3 times today.
Right. Which, it's kind of the point. We don't know when it's going to be open, but we can at least let people know when it's closed. And whenever it opens, we can say, hey, it's open now. And at least that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Chairman.
Director Carpenter, I want to tell you and all your guys, thank you very much. You guys worked over and beyond for the last 2 or 3 weeks, believe me. The parks are back in pretty good shape, and all the stuff's picked up off the streets, and Tell everybody we said thanks. Well, most of it.
And we
Most of it.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
We really do, and I will pass that along to all the men and women tomorrow, again, that the council appreciates it. But, yeah, we still are in a mop-up phase. And I let the mayor know earlier today, Dave and I actually have an 8 a.m. meeting tomorrow morning with FEMA. We've got a book about that thick with all the information they've asked us for, and now let's just all pray that they remunerate us in at least some small fashion.
Well, I think I read something in the paper tonight about they're having a meeting up at the Uncle Joe Cannon building next
Yes.
week or so.
No, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're looking for people's input.
Well, I don't know about that. They have contacted the Vermilion County Emergency Management, who in turn contacted each individual community, and we were asked to compile a lot of records. We did that initially 2 weeks ago. That was turned into the state, and as you have noticed, the state actually declared several counties disaster areas, which Vermilion County was one of them. And because they were able to declare it statewide, then they were able to apply for it with federal. And from what I've been told, it's, a 50-50 chance that you get anything from FEMA.
Yeah.
But we've compiled everything they've asked for and probably even more. So hopefully we will, like I say, get remunerated at least a small amount, if not the whole amount.
Thank everybody again, because I know they worked, and they worked hard, so thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Williams.
Yeah. In reading the commercial news tonight, I saw where the casino is having their grand opening this Friday at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, I'm sorry. And they invited the city officials to be there. But I think it's awful wonderful that they also were able to issue $1 million check to the Boys and Girls Club, which I solely support, and I think it's wonderful for the city. So I don't know if you could give us more information as to what we're supposed to do, or...
So I can tell you many years ago, I've been gone from the Boys and Girls Club now, it's hard to believe, 10 years. And when I was there, we had at that time over 80 teenagers who wanted to be members of the Boys and Girls Club that we couldn't accommodate because we simply didn't have the room. Rob tells me that they have closer to 150 students total who want to be members there who don't have the room, but and I think about 100 of those are teenagers. And so they intend to build an addition to the Boys and Girls Club that would add a teen center specifically for teenagers, which, we always talk about there's nothing to do in our community. I also would like to reiterate again, because I get tired of hearing it, quite frankly. Everyone says, oh, Ricky, you used to work there. This is your pet project. That's why these people got this money. No, in fact, this was not my choice. The Wilmot family is very involved in the Boys and Girls Club in their community. And in fact, Mr. Wilmot was Rochester Boys and Girls Club Man of the Year a couple of years ago. So this was their decision. They are the ones who wanted to include that and the Fisher Theater. I supported those two things. The other things were the things that the committee and I requested, which included $100,000 for the United Way, because any organization in Vermilion County that's in good standing can apply for that money. $50,000 a year in scholarships at DACC that are not only academic. We need welders, we need mechanics. Anyone can go out there and apply for those scholarships. $50,000 to help support our public safety, and $50,000 a year for Vermilion Advantage, because they support all of us in terms of our economic development. So I just want to remind everybody, for all of those people who like to say lots of things, that this was not my choice, although absolutely I supported it, because it's been a need for more than a decade.
Thank you.
Chairman. Oh, I almost forgot what I was going to say. No, you're right. Yeah, the mayor did a heck of a negotiating with Wilmots on that. You can ask the Wilmot family what a tough negotiator is, but yeah, that's one of many millions to come. But anyway, there was some more storm damage. I'm not sure how much the city was affected. I had 2 trees go down by me. Unfortunately, one branch went on a roof that was just repaired. brand-new roof, and it kind of smashed the other end of the house. There's one where we cut the tree down after the storm on Robinson and Woodlawn. The trees were in such bad shape, the city actually had to take one down, but then my neighbor had one go down. Thank God it went in the driveway and not on houses, but I didn't know how much longer the cleanup's going. Is that over now as far as picking up or setting out? I know a lot of the widowmakers are falling now with the winds. Or people.
No, we're not. We're not finished with the cleanup. As a matter of fact, there are still 2 streets that I'm aware of that we haven't even been down yet. They should be addressed tomorrow. We're probably still a good week away. We had put out a release last week asking anybody that had anything left to please contact Public Works and leave us your address so that we be aware of it and we could come and get it. So as long as people still have stuff out that they've called in, then we will go get it. And we're not going to leave anything just laying there. I recognize some people don't pay attention to any media and they're just going to put it out, so.
Yeah, you can drive around now. I mean, you can look up in the trees and see all the dead and stuff that's just hanging there ready to fall, so.
And I would encourage, like I said before, it's not just widowmakers. Alderman Wands made us aware of a tree today over on Pine in front of the big old mansion that Dave and I investigated, and it's split in 3 different directions. If you got a 25-mile-an-hour wind come through again, it might split and go to the ground in 3 directions. So if you do see anything out while you're driving around or somebody reports it to you, please let us know immediately, because those things are very dangerous, especially if somebody parks under them or, if they're over a sidewalk.
And again, I'd like to reiterate what Rick and everybody else, I mean, you guys did a fantastic job and continue to do a good job on this. And hopefully we'll get some relief from the federal and state. Thank you.
I want to thank Carl for getting on that tree so quickly. I called him, and by the time I called the constituent, he'd already been there. It was less than an hour, so I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. You'll be glad to know we don't have a need for closed session this evening. Having satisfied the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, yes.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.